Breaking news, riots are currently being left in the streets in downtown Chicago due to election parties. Voters are still unsure with the current status of the United States feels unprepared with the President of the United States has formally announced his status for the presidential. Former President Trump has a life-threatening event at today's campaign rally, leaving voters and supporters. It happens every 4 years. It is one of the biggest events for the United States, and it's finally here. You can't avoid it. It's everywhere. The United States presidential election. Just like everyone in the world who can see the political debate of the United States' next president, threat actors also see the trending news. This is an opportunity they too can use to maliciously inflict their own threats for their personal gain. Hello? Who is this? Why are you calling me? What do you want? Hi, and welcome, Cyber Defenders. My name is Rena Schultz, and I will be your aide today as I guide you through exploring different learning opportunities through Cyberspeak Labs. During your time here, it's important for you to know that the lab is designed for us to collaborate and to learn. Today, we are going to put on our lab coats and learn about cyber threats and security awareness during the United States presidential election season. Let us use our laboratory instruments to understand the science behind these major scams and breaches that bring harm to the US election season. Defenders, as we continue to learn more about these events, it's important to think and hypothesize on the following. How can you promote security education to your friends and family? What are ways that you can educate your own business during newsworthy events about scams and phishing threats? Now that we understand today's assignment, let's put on our white coats and enter the lab to learn. Now, before we dive into the events of 2024, I think it is also important to highlight historical moments about the United States presidential election. I truly believe for us as cyber defenders to appreciate the evolution of the cyber landscape today as we travel back through time and understand how heightened security and surveillance concerns were originally created with the US election season. So let's go back into a time, specifically the year of 1773. Yes, way before computers were even a topic, let alone an invention. 1773. A time in history where people were paranoid of the unknown defenses and threats. People often got this paranoia through different types of gossip. Gossip at local markets, after church, maybe even circles of friends, or at the local tavern. Specifically, one topic that started the change of American history. At this time, the British colonies were forcing the United States to pay high taxes on tea, which these taxes would have led to the entire country turning into a financial turmoil state. But this also created a divide. Some colonists were supporting the rise of taxes and staying loyal to the British crown, while others did not. Eventually, this divide was even more emphasized with the creation of a secret organization called Sons of Liberty. Their mission was to stand their ground and fight for the rights of the Americans. They promoted their passion to fight for the act of liberty and justice. But as a word of their secret organization was being created to defend a country, the British colonies were also becoming more watchful. British colonies and authorities heightened their surveillance and closely started to monitor colonial activities and those to be rumored to be part of Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty were aware of this surveillance, which also raised concern within their own organization. Concerns about potential espionage amongst one another, because they wanted their organization to truly bring liberty into justice. But as planning continued, colonists stood their ground and hosted what we know today as the Boston Tea Party. Colonists crowded together to throw 340 crates of tea off boats and into the Boston Harbor to protest against the tax raises.
This moment in history eventually led to the organization of leaders and the first president of the United States, George Washington, which was voted to be president by unanimous choice, of course. Now, it's important to know one of the first movements for American in developing and creating their country. But it was also one of the first historical moments for this country to handle secret organizations, surveillance, and espionage. Words and phrases that are still commonly heard and dealt with in 2024. One of the big advantages with the 21st century is how news and media is promoted. Instead of solely relying on printed materials, personal letters, and word of mouth, by the year of 2016, the internet was in almost every home, office, and mobile device. This allowed the world to have media outlets through social media, online articles, or even blogs, allowing data to be accessed 24/7, 365 days of the year, with almost real-time updates as events occur. The stress of information loss from 1773 is widely different than how we, as cyber defenders, picture data loss by the year of 2016. This rise of technology is rumored to be one of the first major leading events that impacted the 2016 presidential election, the election debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
It was July 25th of 2016. The FBI publicly announces it had launched an investigation into a potential intrusion of the Democratic National Committee, also known as the DNC. This announcement was about a potential intrusion into the DNC computer networks. However, months prior to this public release, a storm was developing into the major incident that hit the breaking news, which later was discovered to be a wider cyber influence than just a single event during the 2016 US election season. September of 2015, the FBI had contacted the DNC's help desk. They had cautioned the IT support technician that at least one computer has been compromised by Russian hackers. The IT technician claims that they conducted a scan onto that compromised machine, but no evidence of anything suspicious was found. But according to CNN, a few months later in November, the FBI reaches out to the DNC help desk again. This time, warning them that the compromised computer has now been identified to be transmitting data to an unexpected source located in Russia. Now, as 2015 rolls into 2016, it starts becoming a turnstile of news and debates for the 2016 elections. Things cannot seem to slow down. This was a historical debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. However, as U.S. election season begins to peak in March of 2016, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman receives an email. This email appears to be an alert from Google that a user has attempted to access their account. But if you clicked the link, it would be prompted with a page that was not from Google, where a person can reset their password due to security concerns. Now, since Clinton's chairman looked at this email and thought there was some red flags and suspicions, they went ahead and forwarded the email to the DNC help desk. The technician that received the reported email reviews it and concludes that yes, this is in fact suspicious. So the technician replies back to the chairman. However, that reply contained a minor typo, a small mistake that led to major events. The reply stated, and I quote, "This is a legitimate email," where the technician meant to state, "This is an illegitimate email." With that being the technician's reply, stating that the email's legit, the chairman saw that response and then proceeded to continue to click onto the link that was in the email to change his password. A month later, after the chairman had reset his password, the threat actors did not wait to jump on this opportunity. According to CNN, the threat actors created a fake email account that they had used to spearfish more than 30 staffers from Clinton's party. From the investigation of this incident, the hackers had embedded an Excel file into the phishing campaign that was called, quote, Hillary Clinton favorable rating.xlsx, unquote. This would redirect recipients to a website that was operated by the threat actors themselves. From the CNN article that was published, it was claimed that the threat actors had used stolen credentials to access the DNC network, where they deployed malware that allowed them to steal data. Investigation also disclosed this threat actor group had accessed 33 unique DNC computers, and additionally registered a website called DC Leakers to publicize the stolen documents. Now, during the months of May to June of 2016, investigation had disclosed the threat actors had stolen over thousands of emails from the DNC network, and they also started taking efforts to conceal their infestation from this network. But a little too late at this point, in my opinion. Now, with the discovery of this breach at this point, DNC had hired a security company called CrowdStrike to assist with their investigation. CrowdStrike claims the threat actors that caused the incident had similar motives and behaviors to a Russian APT group known as Fancy Bear, or APT-28. This hacking group has been active since 2008, where they target industries in aerospace, defense, energy, and even media. According to CrowdStrike, Fancy Bear has been known to target their victims with phishing websites that lead them to credential harvesting, or even spoofed websites that appear legitimate but are actually fake and hosted by that threat actor group. Additionally, the investigation had also discovered a fake persona that APT-28 had created. This persona was named Guccifer 2.0, where Guccifer was a Romanian blogger that claimed to be a conduct of theft and would cause the data breach itself. Of course, CrowdStrike's investigation had a more data-driven theory that there could be other identities behind this breach. Now, as investigation was ongoing to discover more of the root cause and the impact, a known leak website had disclosed around 20,000 emails that were stolen from this data exfiltration. At this point, it was July 25th. The storm was strong, and FBI is now officially involved in releasing information regarding this intrusion and investigation. Threat actors continue to publish stolen phone numbers, email addresses, and other personal information related to those in the DNC. However, once investigation was contained and sorted, new evidence started to emerge from this cyber breach. There were strong key aspects of Russian interference with wrongful information regarding the 2016 campaign elections. This information was hosted through ads on social media platforms such as Twitter, currently known as X, Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube. Besides the breach on DNC, evidence around that time also showed that external identities relating back to Russia had attempted to breach the election system in at least 20 different states. Amongst the media focused on the Russia's hack, another piece of news also started to surface. Just 3 days before the 2016 presidential election takes place, a California-based security firm called Cylance had released a threat report
confirming speculation that many United States citizens had. Factual evidence to show how easy it is to hack a voter machine that was actually planned to be deployed at many voting stations across the United States on Election Day. According to bleepingcomputer.com, voter machines is part of a Help America Vote Act that was passed in 2002. This allowed $3 billion federal funds to be freed once voting has become more modernized with voter machines. Because of this new act being passed, this had resulted to many improperly designs that were poorly tested to supply the demand of these voting machines. In 2007, there was actually a trend among cyber or computer researchers pushing theoretical hacks against these voting machines. But it wasn't until 2016 there was ethical and public stated release proving how easy it is to hack these voter machines. Cylance had publicly released the vulnerability on a voter machine that was used for the 2008 presidential elections. In fact, there are numerous online videos that highlight the exploit vulnerability that Cylance discovered. The videos will start by showing what the voter numbers are and how a normal report is printed from these machines. From there, the video will show how the data is then changed by a debugger platform. This is done by having physical access to these voter machines. The modified data will then allow the machine to print voting numbers for data that is falsely accounted for. According to Bleeping Computer, US officials have explained the attack on actual voting machines are close to impossible. In the bigger picture of how the technology infrastructure works with voting machines and the election ballot, if, and US officials have emphasized, if a cyber attack was to happen, they would occur in one or two isolated areas. This would not coordinate to a nationwide attack. From a public hearing, the 2016 FBI Director James Comey had highlighted these disclosed exploits on the voter hacking machines. He states, and I quote, "And again, these are voter registration systems. This is very different from the voter system in the United States, which is very hard for someone to hack into because it is clunky and dispersed. It's Mary and Freddie putting a machine under the basketball hoop at a gym. Those things are not connected to the internet, but the voter registrations are," unquote. However, along with the disclosure, Cylance did make statements that they do hope voting locations will use more current voter machines. It was vetted with the infosec community that many states during the 2016 election were planning on using voter machines that were used during the 2008 election. All right, cyber defenders. We are going to take a quick break and return to talk about cybersecurity with the 2024 presidential elections. We will be diving deeper into our assignment to learn about false rumors and the trends with spammers utilizing the US election season. Enjoy this quick coffee break, and we will return with our next lab assignment. During the United States presidential election season, especially with the trends of news and the urge to make clickbait content, reading into false claims or uninformed information is a trend with information regarding cyber attacks, not just with the US election. However, in the months of July and September, the FBI has released numerous statements about awareness regarding false claims on cyber attacks towards the 2024 United States presidential election. In July of 2024, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, also known as CISA, along with the FBI, had made a public statement regarding threat actors falsely claiming in the past about impacting voting systems through a distributed denial of service attack.
According to a Bleeping Computer article, both the FBI and CISA claimed they have found no evidence to show these claims to be true. The articles also highlight that if these attacks were to be true, this will at most hinder public access to information, but it will not impact the integrity or security of the 2024 election process. In September of 2024, the FBI had released a public service announcement regarding a trend of false claims of hacked voter information. The announcement also highlights that the FBI is wanting to raise awareness of attempts to, and I quote, undermine public confidence in the security of the U.S. election, and also, quote, through the spread of disinformation, falsely claiming that cyber attacks compromised the U.S. voter registration database, end quote. The release also highlights that most United States voter information can be purchased or even just acquired through public available sources. Additionally, the release states that the acquisition of this data did not impact the voting process or even election results. The release also highlighted on what the public can do to prevent to fall victim to these claims. The awareness also includes to be cautious about social media posts or unsolicited emails, text messages, or phone calls from unknown identities that are highlighting suspicious claims about the U.S. election process or even its security. And a wide-ranging hacking campaign that Christopher Wray stated to be government-sponsored. According to the release, the hackers had impersonated U.S. government officials by using fake personas with spear phishing campaigns. They had used the phishing campaign to exploit and gain unauthorized access by the use of social engineering towards their victims to steal even more confidential information. Christopher Wray had quoted in his release, "Let's be clear. We're talking about here attempts by hostile foreign government to steal campaign information from one presidential candidate and then shopping around both to that candidate's opponent and the media." End quote. Christopher Wray had also mentioned in his release that, I quote again, intent was clear to sow discord and shape the outcome of our elections. Even though there has been some awareness about unsolicited phone calls or emails towards the 2024 U.S. presidential election season, the news has been emerging towards a new type of technology to emphasize social engineering with these threat actors. Technologies including Gen AI. Time magazine had released an article earlier in February of 2024 regarding awareness towards threat actors using Gen AI tools to utilize and carry out scams or even other cyber attacks. Adam Myers, head of counter-advisory operations at CrowdStrike at the time, stated, "With half the world's population set to vote in 2024, the use of Gen AI to target elections could be a huge factor." End quote. Earlier in the year, in January, CISA had brought awareness to their movement of #ProtectTwenty24, and this highlights some of the awareness, including the use of Gen AI in the election season. The advisory highlights awareness around the potential malicious use of AI, such as deepfakes, where voice and video appears to be an official talking, but is created in an unethical way to promote malicious intent and content. Additionally, CISA also highlights how AI is used to generate sophisticated emails for social engineering attempts, assuming similar to the ones that were disclosed by Christopher Wray during his press release. Now, as a disclaimer for all listeners, it is important that you do your research about your country's and state laws against cyber research, usage of AI, and other hacking or cyber activity considerations. Failure to adhere to laws and other administrations can lead to punishment and other obligations suited for the crime. You can find more information about your country's guidelines and laws by visiting their government, legal database, or cybersecurity agency's website. It is always advised to discuss with legal professionals for official guidance and breakdown with these laws for further questions. I'm not a legal counselor, but I think it's important to understand where to find information and know limitations that are enforced by the law. As defenders, it is our job to learn about past breaches or cyber events and understand how did they occur and what could have been done to prevent this. Even though cyber events that are highlighted in 2016 or 2024 elections, there are a lot of lessons learned and areas we can improve even for security awareness. Security best practices and education will most likely be considered differently by the time the 2028 US election arrives. But as part of this lab assignment, there was a lot of information regarding cyber events throughout the years. However, what are some questions and takeaways you got from this research? Are there things you'll consider differently, or even consider when hearing about the US election season? If you're curious, here are my laboratory questions and ideas on this topic. The first question I'm going to highlight is, what can we do to emphasize security awareness and practices towards the US election or other big events? One of the common trends throughout the 2016 presidential election and also the 2024s is authenticity of news and identities towards the election. It almost makes you wonder if any cyber news related to the election should have references to CISA or other reputable sites that have awareness regarding cyber threats or awareness. There are ways out there that have multiple sources that can drive authenticity and education of information that's being portrayed in the news. Another question that was outlined in our lab assignment was, should be there new type of ways of security awareness and updated social engineering awareness regarding the use of Gen AI or other emerging technologies? I often think of the struggle we currently have as cyber defenders in teaching others to not fall for scams that lead to malicious intent. But with emerging technology of introducing deepfakes and other realistic social engineering models, this could also bring a way for us to heighten our awareness on how we should be promoting security education within our business or even community. In your opinion, what are some ways security education can be promoted during the election season? What do you think, defenders and lab coats? Do you have any other questions or ideas you would like to share? If so, I encourage you to post them in the comments. This is why learning from others is so important. The cyber community is filled with passionate cyber defenders, like yourself, who are experts in different corners. Let me know what you think. For those who are wanting to stay current with security news, awareness, or education regarding the 2024 election season, I encourage you to follow #ProtectTwenty24 through social media, or even visit CISA's website at https://cisa.gov/topics/election-security. If you or someone that you know has fallen victim to a cyber incident or scam, you can report findings online to cisa.gov/report or by calling 1-844-SAY-CISA. For those outside of the United States, please check your local government's website on reporting any cyber activity or concerns. Thank you all for joining me in the lab today and becoming a cyber defender in lab coats. I am Rena Schultz, your lab aide and podcast host for this episode. If you have any suggestions for guest collaboration of cyber topics, incidents, or just in general, you can submit them by going to cyberspeaklabs.com. Additionally, Cyberspeak Labs is always looking for assistants that are wanting to build their professional brand or even their own social network. If you are someone who is wanting to volunteer experience and promote content, feel free to submit a form by going to cyberspeaklabs.com. Thank you all, and look forward to seeing you in the lab again soon.